to hear if anyone wants to let me know. Either you can unmute or pop it in the chat. How are you doing? How did everything land from the numerology that we did yesterday? Absolutely. Come in and out as you need to. You're totally welcome to pop in and out, and the replay will be available. Feeling optimistic. It resonates. Beautiful. More confident and excited to share my gifts. Yes. That makes me the happiest. That's what I want to hear. I want you guys to be feeling that vibe.
Something really clicked in who I serve. And you know how like you know for a while and then you have your perception of who that person is. And then as you grow, the person grows, but then it's kind of this little hodgepodge of muddy middle. And something just hit yesterday after listening in and just re-looking at it from the simplicity and just going, yeah. And so it was almost like this permission slip open, and all morning I've just been like signature talk and this and that. Like it's refreshing because it's really not different than what my brain was thinking, but it went, yeah, that's right. And this is undeniable. And it's so freaking direct and honest at all points with numerology. And this is why we love it so much. Like you don't have to fight against it. So that helped me. I don't know about anybody else, but I was kind of like super excited for the other things I've been hesitating to create to put structure to.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. I think there's something so huge in that. Like, when we're solo entrepreneurs or working primarily on our own, it's like we sometimes need that like second voice or something to be like, yes, your thoughts are on point, you're accurate, you're where you need to be, that extra kind of affirmation, validation. And it's so helpful when that comes from within, which it can with the numerology. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Yes. No, you do not need to listen to day one. The order doesn't necessarily matter so much. So if you miss day one, that's fine. You can still dive into day two and you can go back and listen to day one whenever. Anne is saying very clarifying and very helpful. Yay! I'm so glad. And I'm so happy to see you guys back with me today. Today is going to be much more strategy based. So what I want you to do is I really want you to, number one, like remind yourself that you can do this. There's nothing I'm going to be talking about today that you cannot do. It's fully doable. It's fully capable. Like you can do this. And don't let the overwhelm take on a voice to tell you you can't. Okay. This is all fully doable no matter who you are. And not only is it fully doable no matter who you are, you can do it in such a way that it works for you, for your energy. You can kind of piece together the pieces that align for you. And so before we get started, if you guys are open to it with me, I'd love to do a little drop in together because I want you to listen to today's strategy training with your intuition. Oftentimes, when we put our brain into strategy mode, we think our intuition needs to get set aside. And that's not the case. They actually work really well together, really well together. So are you on board? You want to do a little drop in with me for just a minute so that we can bring our intuition on board with me? Okay. So if you feel comfortable doing so, I invite you to just take a second. Let yourself land into your body for a minute. If you kind of need to wiggle in your chair, adjust yourself a little bit. If you need to stretch, sigh. Sometimes you might need to tap your feet on the ground or tap your hands on your legs. Just reminding yourself to come back to your body. You've probably been a busy person all day. You've probably been here, there, and everywhere. So taking a minute just to land in, if you feel comfortable to do so, you might want to close your eyes. And taking a minute to notice your breath. And noticing that with each breath in, your energy is dropping down into your center. Again, you might feel the need to wiggle, to adjust, to wiggle your toes a little bit. Letting yourself feel connected to your whole entire body. Taking a minute to notice your feet on the ground, the chair that is holding you, and reminding yourself that you are going to choose to stay with yourself today. You're going to stay present. And if you find yourself getting distracted, you can just come back to your body by tapping your hands on your legs or giving your arms a little squeeze to stay with yourself today. If it feels good to do so, you might also decide to invite your higher self and any of your most divine and sacred guides to be present with you today, to help you be clear-minded and discerning as to what is right for you for your next steps forward. I love in this process knowing that I have guides, as do all of us, whose specific job it is to keep me connected to prosperity and success in my business. So I'm going to make sure I have those guides fully present with me today, walking this path with me. Okay. Whew, so good. Thank you for giving me a second to do that. I hope you guys are feeling super present. Oh, I got people in the waiting room. Got to let them in. Okay. I'm going to start off by asking you guys a few questions to begin with. I hope you've got your workbooks handy because this is going to be workshoppy, doing the things. I want you to leave today with a bit of a plan. That would be my goal, my best case scenario for you. So, the first question I want to ask you is how much extra money would you like to be making in your business? Okay. So if you're, at 5,000 and you wish you were at 10,000 or you're at 0 and you wish you were at 5, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Pick the number as to how much extra money you would like to be making in your business. Write it down, jot it down on your page. Don't overcomplicate it. If it feels tricky to pick a number, just pick a number out of a hat. Just like $2,000. Done. Right? It doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, monthly. Yeah, let's do monthly. Keeps it easy. Beautiful. And then the next question I want you to ask yourself is how much time do I either want to save or gain? Right? So if you're currently working, a 40-hour work week and you wish it was a 30-hour work week, I want to save 10 hours a week. Or if however that is. And for some of you, you might not need to save time, but I feel like probably most of us wish we had a bit more time. So, how many hours would you like to save yourself? The last question I'm going to ask you is a very hypothetical question because none of us as entrepreneurs work on an hourly rate. So this is very hypothetical, but it gives you a sense of the opportunity cost of your time. And when I say the word opportunity cost, do you guys understand what that means? It's like if I invest an hour of my time into something, how much is that costing me in air quotes? Right? How much is that worth to me? What is the value of that? And it's so important to know that because, especially as entrepreneurs, we can get ourselves pulled in lots of directions, and it's on us to decide, is this direction worthy of the investment of my time? And one of the easiest ways to know is to know the value of your time in an hour to decide if it's worthy of it. Okay. So, how do I figure that out? What you got to do is you got to figure out how much money do I want to make per month. So, let's just use some round numbers here. Let's say I want to make 10 grand a month. That's my goal. Okay. And then you need to ask yourself, how many hours am I willing to work per week or do I want to work per week? Okay. So, let's say I want to work 10 hours, or sorry, I want to make $10,000 a month and I'd like to work 30 hours a week. What does that work out to be? So 30 times 4 weeks is I'm willing to work 120 hours. Okay. You guys with me on this so far? Okay, how many hours per week times it by 4 equals your hours per month. Okay, so then I'm going to do $10,000, which is what the monthly income goal I have, and I'm going to divide it by 120. Okay, $83. That is my minimum value of my time. Make sense? So let's just round it up and say $100 an hour to make it easy. Okay. So that's the opportunity cost of my time. Meaning, if I'm going to invest my time in something, it's got to make me more money than that. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Okay. Opportunity cost. So I just wanted to give you that as a starting point, as a framework before we kind of go into building the business model today. So the first thing I want to say is there's a lot of misinformation about building businesses and business models in the world, in my opinion. There's a lot of people who will tell you the story of how easy it is and how you just da 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 and poof, you have a multi six-figure business. I don't know. Every time I hear these stories, I'm like, okay, sure, right? I have a lot of skepticism behind them because, in my experience, nothing happens that easily. It is the result of energy, time, investment. It is the result of putting effort in. And I'm not going to pretend that things happen poof easily because they don't. They require investment of your time, investment of your energy, investment of your money. They require doing hard things. They require taking risks. And they most definitely require stepping outside of your comfort zone. So, have you guys ever noticed that sometimes the thought of stepping outside of your comfort zone actually feels like it's going against your intuition? Has anyone ever felt that way? Like I have a thing, I feel like I should do it, but there's also something telling me don't do it. And how do I know? Is it fear? Is it comfort zone? Is it intuition? Like, what is the thing driving me and pushing me away from the thing I also want? Have you guys ever questioned that? You feel that? Yeah. Right? Where it's like, I want to be visible. I want to share my work, but then I go to do it and I hesitate and I can't tell. Am I hesitating because my intuition's telling me to pause and get more information? Or am I hesitating because it's fear and comfort zone keeping me small? Okay. Having the right business structure in place will help you navigate that. I'm not going to say it's ever going to completely go away, but it will definitely minimize it because you will have a strong sense of the structure requires that I do X, Y, and Z, right? And so once I've done it a few times, you'll realize, oh, that was new. That's why I was hesitating. It's not that my intuition was holding me back. It's that I was hesitating because it was new. Most of the time, when you're doing things in your business, dare I say all of the time, like 90% of the time, you'll need to do them before you feel ready. So let's normalize that. It's uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable, and you will never feel like this is just all peaches and sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. Like you just won't. So let's just get that out of the way. And like, we're like, it's fine. It's fine. We'll be okay with being uncomfortable. So, how many people here are like, yes, I'm willing to accept that it's going to take being uncomfortable to get the outcome I want, whether it's the extra hours, the extra time, the extra money, whatever it is in the first three questions I asked you, I'm willing to be uncomfortable in it. Because if we only want to work in what's safe and what's comfortable, I hate to be the one to say it, but probably entrepreneurship is not the thing, right? Already living it. Yes, yes, yes. We're already living it. We're already doing it. Excellent. The hardest thing I feel like that I have done in my entire life is be willing to do the hard thing because the things that we're going to need to do in order to get the goals that we want will sometimes require disappointing people, letting people down, saying no to things that are hard to say no to, saying yes to things that are hard to say yes to, it's being cringy, like doing the awkward thing, posting excessively, emailing excessively, doing the things that other people actively judge. So, in this world, we need to ask ourselves, am I okay? with that? Am I okay with being judged? Am I okay with people looking at me and saying things? Am I willing to have that? I was coaching with a client the other day, and she was saying to me, I'm really afraid that in my workshops that I'm teaching, I might trigger someone. And I've been in her workshops before, and her workshops are 10 out of 10 excellent. But I was triggered as hell. And so I said to her, I'm like, I was triggered in your workshop. Was that okay? And she had to sit with that for a minute because she'd never asked herself that question before. Most of us spend most of our lives trying to avoid being uncomfortable, avoid rocking the boat, avoid upsetting people. And so asking yourself, like, am I okay with triggering someone, disappointing someone, upsetting someone, rocking the boat, shaking somebody else's paradigm up a little bit? Am I okay with that? And sometimes it's just a matter of sitting with it, feeling that for a second and being like, yeah, I'm okay with being misunderstood. I'm okay with being perceived as whatever those perceptions are that get thrown at me. So, and this is exactly it, Jody. Whatever they're going to say anyways. And the reason I want to start with this is because when I go through the three-stage business model, mindset stuff's going to come up of like, who am I to do this? Other people are going to think that. And if I do this, some people might think this about me. And I want you to sit with this for a minute first and be like, is that okay? And honestly answer, is it okay if someone thinks I've triggered them? Or is it okay if someone thinks I'm being loud or that I'm taking up space or that I posted too many selfies or that I fill in the blank, right? Is that okay? Sit with it, answer it for yourself, write it down in your journal. I'm not going to tell you the right or the wrong answer. It's up for you to decide because it's your full body yes that's going to determine the success of what happens next. Because if there's a part of you that's like, no, it's not okay, you will always be fighting yourself more than anything else. Do you hear what I mean in that? If you're not okay with upsetting other people, rocking the boat, triggering people, taking up space, you're not fighting the system, the algorithm, the economy. You're actually fighting yourself, right? Because part of you is like, I'm going to say it. No, I'm not. I'm going to do it. No, I'm not. Right? You're pushing the gas and the brake at the same time and you're burning out your engine. Has anyone been there before? Yes, I have lots of
Megan,
time.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
What is the best way to balance having good, strong boundaries versus really recognizing exactly what you're talking about and just being in the allowing and accepting?
Good, strong boundaries, like you mean if someone were to actively criticize you?
No, I mean, I'm talking more about the inner self, like when you have that feeling, like you said, your client was afraid of triggering, like she was self-recognizing, right? So you were suggesting the healing here is not to stop worrying about triggering somebody, but to be okay with triggering somebody. But what if that is more for her, that question of like alignment or a boundary that she has either for herself or her workshop or program.
Yeah,
So
well, what we
so the difference between keeping boundaries that you have, even if they're guided by intuition, versus really restricting energy and being like in fear or resistance.
Yeah, well, in the coaching conversation I had with her, maybe this will answer your question, but in the coaching conversation we had, I said, like, are you okay with triggering people? And after she sat with it, she was like, I've never asked myself that before. And yes, I am. I am okay with it because in the talking through it, we realized that it was in the being triggered that people's stuff came up and she was able to support them to heal it. She's an incredibly trauma-informed somatic therapist. So she's literally the perfect person for you to be triggered with because she knows exactly how to hold space for you to heal it. And but because she's so trauma aware and trauma informed, she was like, I don't want to hurt people. Right. And it's like, but also people have to be able to be willing to face their stuff in order to heal it. Right. And so once she came to terms with that, she ran a workshop the very next day. It was such good timing the way this all unfolded. And she was able to say the things that her soul knew she needed to say in that workshop that the people needed for support that before she couldn't say because she was too afraid of rocking the boat. And so she had the inner brakes on. And so she was holding back, which meant her clients weren't getting the value they could have gotten as soon as she got comfortable with her fullest expression. Does that, I don't know if that really answers your question, Betsy, but I will say for boundaries, it's important to have things in place like a disclaimer of like, hey, this workshop could bring up stuff for you. You know, like in her case, it is a trauma workshop. So it could bring up uncomfortable memories. And if you're not okay with that, please do not attend. And if you do get triggered, please reach out for a one-on-one session or work with your medical, mental health provider. So making sure you've got the supports in place. I mean, that's a specific to someone who's trauma informed, but for anybody of us on this call, like obviously if you have a client you're working with and you're like, wow, this is beyond my scope of practice, that's a good boundary to say, this is beyond my scope of practice. Here's what I would recommend or suggest or invite you to explore because this is what I see happening here, right? And you can say that. You're allowed, like I often joke about how it's not beyond my scope of practice to do relationship readings. No one should ever get relationship advice from me. But I'm joking, not joking. Like I'm not the person to give relationship advice. So please do not book a numerology reading about love with me. Ask me about business, right? And I can just say it's beyond my scope of practice. That's a energetic boundary around what I'm willing and not willing to support people in. And that makes me able to be fully expressed in the things that I want to coach and help people with. Make sense? Okay. But this is the other cool thing. We'll talk about this when we get into the model. Your business model, your marketing becomes the qualifying, the pre-qualifying. The things you talk about in your marketing will filter in the right clients and out the wrong clients if they know, right? No one's going to come to me for relationship readings because I'm never talking about relationships in my content. I'm talking about money, I'm talking about business, whatever. So they know this is what Megan does. So that creates that filter. Okay, so let's get into the three-stage business model. Are we ready? Are we ready to go into the nitty-gritty of this? Okay. So stage one that every single person needs in their business model is you need community building. Okay, stage one equals community building. This is something you do for free. This is marketing, lead generation, audience building. This is community building. Okay, this is a $0 price attached to it, but it will likely still have products and services. Okay, what I'm doing right now would be an example of stage one, right? It's free. You didn't pay for it. It's free. However, I'm building community. We're building connection. You're getting a sense of what I can offer and how I can support. And we're building a relationship, right? Many of you guys have worked with me in the past and you'll come back again. Some of you are new, and this is how we build connection and we support each other, right? Somebody asked me on the call yesterday, what if you're afraid to charge too high of a price because you want your products and service to be accessible? And I love that. And I think it's one of the most generous things you can do when you have the right model in place, because if you're financially struggling, you can't help anybody. But that's why I love this three-stage model, because I will always have free products and services that cost nothing. So if people come to me and they're like, I can't afford to work with you, but I need help on my business, it's like, here's like 10 recordings of free business trainings you can access. And if you follow them to a T and implement them, I guarantee it will make a difference in your business. Or here is like the last 5 numerology trainings I did for free. And if you follow this, you will 100% learn a greater confidence in understanding how to use your intuition when it comes to numbers. And I'm not giving it fluff. I'm not giving it surface level. I'm actually providing really powerful content and really valuable content. However, as the provider, it cannot just stop there because we're not running a charity. We have to understand what is being positioned. And this is where your messaging and your positioning is critical. I need to understand what I give for free and the healthy boundaries around that. Yes, provide amazing value. Yes, you could provide value beyond what some people charge for, even, right? But what is being positioned for money? What is being positioned that is paid? This is critical. You need to understand how your free content, your stage one offers, generate clients into the paid, to the point where you should have a number in your mind where it's like, if I deliver 100 of my freebies, free training, free something, I will generate 5 new clients. You should have a number in your mind that would be called a conversion rate, right? So you should have a number in mind of, if 100 people download my guide, 5 of them will book one-on-one sessions with me, and 3 of them will become private clients. Something to that effect. Because as soon as you start to know your numbers when it comes to that, which is related to messaging and positioning, okay? It's not like you can't just throw free stuff out there and expect people to buy your paid stuff. That does not work, right? That just creates freebie seekers. You need to understand, how do I position the paid offer? Okay. That is where you can start to have kind of this idea of like a business machine or a money machine, because then it's like, oh, well, I need an extra X number of dollars, which translates to 3 new clients. So if I need 3 new clients, I know I need to get 100 downloads of my freebie. Okay, now I know what to do. This is where you have to put some strategies in place. I'm either going to do some Facebook ads. I'm going to use some partnerships. I'm going to use organic social media marketing. I'm going to do some networking with my local community. I'm going to do some podcast interviews to get my 100 downloads of my freebie, knowing that the machine is going to bring me 3, 5, whatever clients once you know your conversion rate. Okay. So in stage one, what are the types of products and services that you would consider in stage one? This can be building your community online, right? So social media. It can also be building your community in person. So networking, belonging to, entrepreneur groups like a BNI, or networking, whatever that looks like to you, some kind of referral community. It can look like podcast interviews and speaking. It can look like, what else? Does anyone want to share some examples of freebies that they love to do? I love to do masterclasses. So this is an example of a masterclass freebie. I love them. I love being able to talk to you guys live. I love the back and forth conversation. I love the ideas I get when I do it. And then I end up being able to leverage this content, right? Like I take this content and I will use it for the next month, 2 months, whatever, on my socials, on my blog, on my podcast, whatever. And so it creates this like content machine that will continue to bring clients in for me. Yeah, drop-in classes, absolutely. I'm hoping, Vanessa, that you're charging for your drop-in mountain bike classes, which if that's the case, I would probably put that into stage 2, but it's a subtlety. So we'll talk about that when we get to stage 2. Because typically we would imagine for stage 1, it's free, right? So for you especially too, like you might do like, trail tours where you're like, because I know for me as I don't mountain bike, but as a hiker, I get nervous to hike trails I've never hiked before. So if I wanted to take hiking lessons, I would love to watch somebody give me previews of like, oh, here's the trail tour of this trail. And then I'd be like, yes, okay, I love that. And then I'll come with you next time, right? Or tutorials, or getting to know you, or the benefits of joining a community, or things like that, right? Because all of that type of content is going to position, and this is where we need to be skilled at it, buying a thing with you, right? Paying. Downloadable workbooks, challenges, 100%. Does
Can I
someone
ask a
have?
question within that?
Absolutely.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
So with that, like with the trail tours, would that be in person, or would you convert that into an online video?
Oh my God, I never thought of it being in person. That would be fun. But I was just thinking, like, if you just did like a 30 or 50-second reel where you just showed a couple of the hard parts of a trail and a couple of the easy parts of the trail, or the fun parts and the hard parts. Because as a hiker, I'm always like, but is it going to be too steep for me? So I always go on all trails to look at where the hardest parts are. But if there was a content creator that I felt a relationship with, I would way rather get trail previews from a human than an app, right? So I don't know, does that
Okay,
help?
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Because I get a lot of people asking, like, what are the trails like? And so I've, but it's sometimes hard when I'm on the trails riding and I want to get better video footage because it's just me a lot of the time. So I need to bring someone on with me to maybe complete that.
Yeah.
Vanessa, do you have any way to do a helmet cam or something where, like a GoPro that can be attached and see a perspective of the trail as you're on it? It was
That's a
just
great, yes, I do. Yeah, I do have a GoPro. I don't have a helmet mount though, so that's a good idea.
could be cool.
Be fun. And then you could do like a time lapse video or something like that, which I always think those are so funny to watch, the time lapses, where it's like everything fast forward. Yeah, or get someone to come with you. And it is this type of content is time consuming. So you will, like, for anybody thinking about doing a demo, a day in the life, those are the most time consuming pieces of content to create. So you really do need to be strategic about how much time I'm going to put into that. And anything that takes a lot of time, you have to have a very good positioning strategy, right? Like this type of workshop is a huge amount of work and time for me to put on. So I have to have a very good strategy for how this is going to position a paid offer. Because doing it just from the goodness of my heart is great, but not sustainable, right? Like it's not something you can do forever. It's something you can do as a one-off, right? So yeah, you need to be the mountain bike, yeah, the handlebar, yeah, yeah. You know, and even like thinking about things like that, like if you could potentially do some kind of energy exchange for with someone where it's like you can have a free lesson if you video and edit some trails with me or something like that because it is so time consuming. But it might be something you might be able to get, you know, like I always feel like kids these days can figure that stuff out so easily. They could totally just make me a video in exchange for some lessons or whatever, right? I'll video and edit for you, right? How fun would that be? I love it. So yeah,
Hey,
plan.
Megan, one of the offers that you've suggested that I would love to hear more about is when you have somebody who's either a seeker or they are already in business and there's kind of like partners with you or something, they invent or create a workshop and you are the speaker or show up, but you're doing it for free to make those connections.
Like being invited as an expert into someone else's community.
Well, I think you had mentioned one as an example, like having an event like a weekend, like a, I don't know, 3 days out, 3 hour thing on a Saturday or something, and somebody else organizes the whole thing and gets all the people there, but then you're the actual presenter
Yeah.
and you're
Sorry, you're cutting out a bit, Betsy. Okay, so I'm gonna,
not actually charging for it, but you're getting the
yeah, you're cutting out a bit, but I think I'm getting at what you're asking. So I would consider that being like a guest speaker at somebody else's event. If someone else is planning and organizing the event, and charging for the event or not charging for the event, I would let that be their, what they would sort that out with profit, however they did that with the ticket sales. I will happily speak for free in other people's communities if I have the right strategy in place. A lot of people have these like hard and fast rules of like, I don't speak for free or I only will do paid this. And fair enough, everyone needs to have their own boundaries. I don't do that because I'll ask myself, what would it take for this to become a profitable collaboration? And if I'm allowed to add their names to my list, if I'm allowed to sell something to them, if I'm allowed to position something to them, it's way more valuable for me to get two or three new clients out of a speaking gig than for someone to pay me $300 to speak for an hour, you know, or whatever. Right. And I don't know, like, certainly there's lots of people who can get paid thousands of dollars to speak for an hour. And if that's you, then you probably aren't in this workshop with me because that's amazing. But you know, like if someone's going to say, I'll give you $300 or $500 to come and speak at my event, I would rather two or three new clients. That's way more valuable to me. So I'll be like, I'll speak for free if I can position and sell and have their emails. And if I can have that, then absolutely. And so it's really cool. The other cool thing about this is it expands your community. So I did a workshop last night and I held it at a woman's space. She's a homeopath. I think I'm saying that right. She's a homeopath, and she's not charging me to use her event space, which is so kind and so generous of her. So I, it's my event. I planned it. I charged for it. It was just a numerology circle, so super low ticket prices and all that. But um, for her, the benefit is now my community is exposed to her physical office space. And it's my job to elevate and edify her so that hopefully she'll get a handful of clients out of it. And if she gets a handful of clients out of it, it's a win-win for both of us, right? We both get to win. And so this is where, partnerships to me is the number one most underrated strategy in business. If you can do collabs with other people, you both have your communities, you bring your communities together, you both get to share and benefit from that. It is so powerful. But the only way a collab like this becomes successful is if you understand, how do I position my products and services so that I know every time you put me in front of an audience of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, I'm going to get X percentage of them as a client. And obviously, it's never a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee in life. But if you do a handful, you start to know your percentages. And that's where you can start to be like, yeah, it makes sense for me to speak to for free as long as I have a big enough audience. Or if it's a small enough audience, I need X number of time, or I need their email list, or whatever. And when most people, are doing these collabs, they don't necessarily understand how to position, or some summits, collabs, whatever, will have rules of like no selling from the stage. And if that's a rule, there's ways around it ethically, obviously, and with permission of the host. You never want to like obviously go against, that would be a bad lack of integrity to go against the agreements that you make. But some people might say you're not allowed to sell from the stage, but you are allowed to offer one-on-ones. That's the best. Like if I can book 20% of my audience to book a one-on-one with me, I know I'll convert X percentage of those into private clients that will pay, right? So now I'm like, now I'm getting paid for it. So you have to think about what's the positioning strategy and how am I in front of an audience? So first it's like, this is the audience building. I'm in front of an audience. Then what's the positioning strategy that turns them into paying clients? That's the key. I think, Lori, do you have a question for me?
I just wanted to add to this. I'm actually in the process of moving my Holistic Health Collective, which is a nationwide directory for holistic practitioners, business coaches like yourself, and I'm moving it to another platform. And one of the pieces I'm adding to it is hopefully it'll be monthly or even quarterly events where I'm doing networking marketing. So I would invite you on and you get a 20-minute slot to speak pre-recorded or live. And then you drop in, like what you said, your community builder, your free your free class or whatever. And it'll just actually be online virtual networking. So I am in the process of moving my platform and getting it there, but I have that networking offering ready for anyone who wants to be a part of it. And, it's reasonably priced, like $100, but you promote what you're doing in that 20 minutes, and then you leave a link into your free gift, and it actually draws everybody to pick up your free gift and then go into your funnel.
Yeah, that's a great example of something like that. Typically, we would think that would be more like stage two because it does have money attached to it. But community building, working with other people, like this can be so powerful, especially when you're thinking about communities. What you want to think about, there's a couple things that make it a win, right? You want to think about, does this person's audience have the need that I can fill, right? Like, they might not be in the same niche. That's actually good sometimes, but do they have a need that my product can fill? And then do the offers that me and the other practitioner or who I'm collaborating with, are they different but complementary, right? So they kind of make sense together, but they're not the same thing, right? Because you want it to make sense for the audience. You want the audience to be like, oh, right. So, I'm experiencing this and then I'm experiencing this. And there's like a story and a flow. You don't want people to be like, oh, we're talking about like holistic healthcare, and then all of a sudden we're talking about something like way out of left field that's completely unrelated. So in order for
Yeah.
that to work really well, you always want to think, what's the benefit involved for me, the other person, and the joint audience that we bring together?
Yeah. And there's categories, right? So if you sign up and there's categories and it doesn't cost the viewers anything, it doesn't cost people to come and watch these live events on the Facebook group.
Yeah,
It's just you're paying a small admin fee for that 20-minute slot to talk about what you're doing, exactly what you're doing right now, right? But
yeah,
it's a network marketing where you invite 30 of your Facebook followers and Betsy will invite 30 of hers. And then collectively, we get all the viewers in, we all bring them in, and then everybody has a 20-minute slot to pitch their business and what they're doing.
cool. Yeah, that's an option for sure. Okay, so I'm just reading the chat here. 68 people clicked on a free email to sign up and only one joined. So this is important. We all have to keep track of this stuff. These are good comments of like recognizing, this many people clicked on the page. This many people actually gave me their email. Of the people that actually gave me their email, this many people actually opened it, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed if you watch this, but like I have been running these ads and I will have 100 leads come in through an ad, and then I'll look a little closer and I'm like, oh, 30 to 50% of those leads are actually clicking the PDF that they asked for. And so then it's like, okay, it's good to know because I can make that number bigger based on how I position it, right? If my languaging in the ad and in the email gets stronger, I can change that number from 30 to 50% to maybe more like 50 to 70%. Like, wouldn't that be great? I would be thrilled to hit over 50. So these are kind of positioning concepts that we need to think about and we can track them. So I don't want to get lost in the weeds with all of this, but I want to think about what are three things, this is what I want you guys to write down. What are three things that you are doing to grow your community at the free level? So, social media is important, but it doesn't necessarily grow your audience unless you're really good at viral reels or unless you're using ads. Okay. Social media tends to be more of like nurturing your existing audience, unless, again, you're really good at viral reels. I'm not. I wish I was. I've tried a few times to take different trainings on it and I still haven't cracked the viral code. I'm like, I will get there one of these days. But you can tell if your content is going out to followers or non-followers when you click insights. So if your content is mostly going out to your existing followers, you're nurturing them, which is important. That's part of the client journey. We talked about that yesterday. The client journey is what the client journey is, and we need to nurture them on that journey. But if you're growing your audience, you got to think new followers, like non-followers, and you got to think like people coming to my email list. Those are the two big ones. And I would say most important is people joining your email list, because even non-followers on Instagram doesn't mean anything unless you can continuously market to them, which means they're on your email list, right? So what are three ways? I want you guys to all write down three ways. An opt-in, a free guide, a download of some sort, challenges, summits, podcasting, advertising in some way, shape, or form, networking, referral communities. I want you guys to all write down three and maybe write down like the one I'm doing already. And then like my stretch goal would be, okay, I want to learn this one a little bit better. Or I want to try to, get my hands on this one. I'm going to be like, do master classes, do launch events, do live training because it always works. But that's my little bias in there because it works so well. Yeah, speaking on summits, absolutely. Does everyone have three written down? Anyone want to share what their three are that they're going to focus on?
I'll share.
Yeah.
I am posting and adding value and invites from bigger groups. So like the women entrepreneur groups and inviting them, this is your vibe, come to my group.
Mhm.
I am already doing summits and podcasting, so I'm continuing on that. I am branching into referral communities from other masterminds and things that I'm in. So I'm bringing a lot of people in that way. And I did have one other one. I do challenges and masterclasses, and I funnel them into my group.
Love it.
But I think like that's all been like chugging along last year, and now it's about really filling that group, right? So just amplifying more of that. So I
Love
love
that.
that up.
That's wonderful. And the thing I love about doing a challenge with a Facebook group is you have the social engagement and the email, right? So if they sign up for a challenge, you have their email. And to me, I would always say anybody, like if you're doing anything community building, try to find a way to get their email.
So
So
what I do with that is I get them to opt in, and then they get the information on where it's going to be, which is in the group. And so it's
totally,
always
like
referring them back into that space.
that's perfect. And it's like they have to download their workbook or their checklist or whatever the thing is that comes along with it. Yeah, I love it. Vicky's doing one-on-ones, podcasts, and masterclasses. Yeah, so if you do discovery calls, this would also fit in there. The other one that I can't believe I have not talked about at all is quiz funnels. Quiz funnels are so freaking fun and so powerful. What a quiz funnel is like a quiz you send out to your audience. They answer the questions and then it puts them into an email sequence that will position a product or a service based on their responses. So I did one last year that was called the Healing Currency, Healing Money Archetype Quiz, and it positioned my program Healing Currency. And so they filled it out and it helped them to understand their relationship with money. And people loved it. I would get DMs all the time of people being like, oh my God, I'm this, I'm that. And they loved it. And it's data for you. You get to see like what your audience is um, seeking based on their answers, what their energy is like, what their challenges are, and then you can use that to market to them, right? Like they're telling me, I'm feeling insecure with money. So it's like, okay, I know that's a problem they're facing now. Now I can talk to them about how to improve their confidence and their feeling of like security when it comes to money. Right. So there's lots of ways you can use a quiz, and there's also different types of quizzes. You can do like a personality type quiz, which is kind of what I did. I did like your money archetype, but you can also do assessments where it's like, are you more beginner or are you more pro? And then that way you can decide what product or service you want to target them at. You can do like gauging readiness type quizzes. You can do like, what's your gap? Right. So like even to kind of think of Vanessa and mountain bike community for a minute, she could be like, the three pillars that make a great mountain biker are, let's just say on the hill practice, training at the gym, and the right nutrition. Right. And if you don't have all of those three pillars in place, then whichever pillar is not in place is going to be the reason why you're struggling. So she could have a quiz that had like six questions, two related to each of those topics, to find out like, where is this person's gap? And then they come up, fill out the quiz. And then she'd be like, oh, your gap's in nutrition. You need to strengthen your nutrition. Or, oh, you haven't been spending enough time at the gym. Here's a workout program that will help you. And then it's like, it guides them to where they need to be to get the success in the offer that you have to help them succeed, right? So yeah, subconscious block to steal your success. Cheat code here. ChatGPT is brilliant at coming up with quizzes. Brilliant. There's prompts you'll need to use to get it to give you a good quiz. But if you I'm looking at the time and I'm like, Megan, you are not on time today. So I'm really hoping you guys are okay with me running late, because apparently we're extra chatty today. And if you're not, then come and go as you need to. But I'm looking at the time and I'm like, wow, I should be on number 3 right now, not on number 1. But anyways, if you put your clients' challenges and desires into ChatGPT and say, take this data and turn it into a quiz, it can be really, really helpful. So that's one that I'm not going to keep going on about because I'm like aware of my schedule right now. But does everyone have 3? One you really want to work on? Okay. Is there any that I didn't talk about? Oops. Let's see. No, we pretty much covered the rest. I did stress how much email marketing is critical. in my mind, you must have an email marketing. It's not a negotiable. If you're not emailing your email list at least once a week, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say you have to do it once a week, but you're missing out on a massive opportunity if you're not. And it's really not that hard to write an email a week. If you have a content strategy in place, it's actually super easy and super straightforward. And honestly, you could sit down in one day and write out your emails for the next quarter. It's super straightforward. So commit to emailing your list on a consistent and regular basis, please. There's so much lost opportunities that come from ignoring your email list. Okay. That wraps up stage one. Stage two. You guys ready for stage two? Stage two is low cost, trust building, accessibly priced products. Okay. So this is a no-brainer product. This is the product where your client doesn't have to think twice about it. It's an instant and easy yes. And, part of this is to build trust in terms of they're getting to know you and your system and how your system works for them. But the other part of it, and to be honest, probably the most important part of it, is for them to build trust in themselves. Most of the time when our clients come to us for help, they've already tried other things and failed, right? And so they might be skeptical. They might have doubts. They might have self-confidence issues or self-esteem issues. And this is, in my experience, across all niches. It's not just like, it's an easy one to say in like the health and wellness industry. It's like if you're a health coach of any type, chances are your client has tried 10 things and failed and has horrible self-esteem around it, right? And so they're coming to you and it might be a last-ditch effort and they're trying, but they're super insecure and lacking confidence and self-esteem because they've already struggled, right? It's easy to see that in health and wellness, but I will bet you, no matter what niche you're in, you're going to see it where people have tried other things. Maybe it's mainstream stuff, maybe it's fringe stuff, who knows? But they've tried something and for whatever reason it didn't work or they struggled or whatever. And they're coming to you being like, help me because you were different and I'm hoping you'll help me. And so our job in stage two, in my mind, is to help them rebuild trust in themselves. Because as long as our client is full of skepticism, self-doubt, think they're broken, think that they're the only person this stuff doesn't work for, whatever, the dialogue on the inside will continue to create sabotage, right? So you can give them the full playbook, step by step, clear as day plan, but if they are talking themselves into failure, that's what's going to happen, right? And so to me, so much about stage two is the trust building. And the reason I really emphasize this is because if your client has 100% trust in themselves and in you that they will get the outcome, they will go straight to your stage three, right? They don't need to test the waters with the low priced offer. If they're like, this is the person I want, I know they will help me, I know I can be successful in their training, in their program, in their sessions, I'm going to just buy the sessions. Why would I do anything different? So the stage two is so much about like, there's a lot of healing in stage two, right? So a lot of people will want to do stage two to be like a digital download, a DIY course, a video, whatever. And that's great. I'm not saying don't do it, but I will say that if you are involved to some degree or another, your conversion into stage three will be much higher. So, for example, if I gave you this course that we're doing together right now in a PDF, textbook, workbook, whatever, and I was like, work through it, and then I invited you to join me in my group coaching program, the percentage of you that would join would be much lower. Whereas here we are together, experiencing each other. You get to ask questions. You get to see if you like my teaching style. You get to try things and see if it works for you. The percentage of you that will join the group program will be higher. So a lot of the times when people do stage two, they're like, well, I'm going to do a workbook. I'm going to do that. That's okay. That's an option. And you should probably have some low cost digital products. But if you're going to do that, can you find a way to connect with your client? And sometimes it's like sending them a voice note or offering them a 15-minute one-on-one to get support after they've finished filling out the workbook, or Like I did a couple of years, last year I did these business audits, and the year before I did these business audits where I was like, fill out these questions in a Google form and I will send you a voice note being like, here's your biggest opportunity, here's your biggest challenge. And that was super effective for converting people into a paid program because they got to feel and see my energy versus if I just sent them a guide on like how to. Does that make sense? So it's about trust building. It's about connection. It's about making your clients realize like you're a real human here. You're not just like a digital faceless account or whatever people think. I don't even know what people think sometimes. Sometimes I wonder what people think, but it's like, nope, we're people. We're people over here too. um, so the question is, what would be your low cost, accessibly priced trust building offer? This can be one-on-one sessions if your one-on-one sessions aren't expensive. This is where I would say to Vanessa, like if you do drop-in paid group classes, this fits under here, right? Because it's now people get a flavor of how you coach and if it's right for them. And then the most important thing is after a person does a drop-in with you, how do you position why it's so much better to book a package of some sort, a program of some sort, like an ongoing training? What's the difference? So with a virtual assistant, I would think like one-off projects, where it's like, oh, just help me create this for a minute or just help me with this for a minute versus a client who's booking an ongoing package with you and built an ongoing relationship with you where you've continuously, you delegate certain responsibilities and they're just done every single month, right? So for you, I'm kind of teasing myself into stage 3 here. Stage 3 is the profitable offer you have. This is where you make money. This is either leveraged, ongoing, higher priced. It's stage 3 is where you make your money. Stage 2, if you filled your business with stage 2 products, you would get burnt out real quick. It's not sustainable to only do stage 2. Unless, I guess there's some exceptions to the rule. Like there are accounts and people and businesses that have massive followings that can make all of their money off of a low cost product. But those are people who have like 100,000 plus followers and they're selling a $30 product. They can sell enough of them to make 10 to 20 grand a month. That's great. Most of us do not have the following audience big enough to make a 10 grand a month off of a $30 product. And most of us can't do enough one-on-ones either, right? If it's a one-off one-on-one session, most of us can't do enough of those to generate the revenue that we would like. I know I couldn't. If I only did one-on-one numerology readings as a single mom of 3 living in Kelowna, which has got to be one of the most expensive cities in Canada at this stage, which is so frustrating to me because I've lived here my whole life and it never used to be this way. Side rant. I could not, if I only did one-on-ones, I could not make enough money to pay for my family of 4. It just wouldn't be possible at all. So you kind of have to think, it's like the two offers, they need to come together because your stage 2 offer, even though there's a dollar exchange involved, it's still a lead generator. It's still a lead generator for the profit. The price point of stage 2 is dependent on your niche, your industry, and your clients. But you want to think in my niche, what's the no-brainer price point? So it's niche specific to some degree, but I would say for most niches, it's going to be under $120, right? You might have some $100 to $150 niches, but for most people, it's going to be somewhere between like 50 to 100, somewhere like that. A low cost membership is stage 2, unless you can get the volume, right? But even I would say, even people who have like, let's say you have a $30 a month membership and you've got 1,000 members, right? Like you're making great money off of that now. And most businesses who have 1,000 members in their $30 a month membership still have a stage 3 offer. And the stage 3 offer might look like a retreat, VIP coaching, one-on-one, a mastermind, something that's leveraged, that's a higher price point that gives them like a bigger cash injection, right? So membership can be a great stage 2, but you want to think about like, what's there's going to be a higher ticket offer in there somewhere. right? There's going to be a leveraged offer in there somewhere. And I mean, again, I'm not going to say everyone because there's definitely some business owners who are like, nope, all I do, like Liz Wilcox is an example, all I do is my email membership and that's it. But she's a massive following, right? And so she's got a massive volume and it took her a long time to get to that point. And she's pretty clear about that if you listen to her podcast. So you can totally go that route if you have the time to build it up. But why would you not also have some higher ticket stuff in there just to make your life a little bit easier in the meantime? Again, everybody has a different motivation for business. You know, if your motivation isn't like, I have to make X amount or else I have to go back and get a job, that's fine. If you have time to take your time to build it, that's great. If you want to see the revenue come in a little faster, have a combo of stage 2 and stage 3. And if you're great at building a massive audience quick, then you could probably get to the point with stage 2. I don't know. I'm like, if you tell me the secrets, if you know how to build your audience quick, because I don't know what they are. To me, the slow and steady approach works. But at the same time, I'm super grateful that the slow and steady approach works for me because my people stick around. They're not in and out, right? Like I have clients who've been with me for 10 years, right? Who come and join trainings and then they'll, book a reading or they'll come and join another training, book a reading, and it's been 10 years. So I'm super grateful for that. Yeah. So if you're looking to quit a different job, I would definitely, Jessica, right? It's so frustrating that Kelowna has gotten so expensive. I'm like, it wasn't always this way. I remember my first place to rent in Kelowna was $425 a month. Makes me sound really old to say that. It's actually true though. Okay. So if you want to quit your job, ironing out the stage 1, the stage 2, and the stage 3, understanding what links them together, which is your messaging and positioning, and figuring out kind of the math behind it. Like how many people do you need coming into your audience who will buy this, who will buy this? What's the dollar figures behind it? That is where you can kind of figure out like what's the plan to get there, right? So yeah. Yes. 425 in Alberta, right? So fun. Oh man. Back in the good old days. Okay, so low cost, accessible product, membership, ebook, one-on-one session. It could also be like, toolkits, events. I did, like I mentioned earlier, last night I did a tarot numerology event in person in Kelowna. I think I had about 15 people come. It was awesome. We just did readings. I still positioned a private reading with me, right? A private reading with me is $300. So it is profitable, but I still kind of consider it a stage 2 because if I only did one-on-one readings, I wouldn't hit my income goals, right? So that event becomes a lead generator for another stage 2 product, which becomes a lead generator for my stage 3 product. So you kind of have to think like, what's the network and how do these all work together? Make sense? So what is your stage 2 product? What do you have? You all need to have at least one, and some of you might have a couple, and that's great. What is your, would you say that one-on-one is essential to offer? It depends on what you do, but here's what I believe about one-on-ones. In my mind, one-on-ones are critical because that is the only place where people really get a sense of that true connection and support. And in the day and age that we live in, co-regulation and connection is the most important part of like healing, growth, and expansion, regardless as to whether you're actually doing healing work or you're doing something else. Like we need connection. We need to be seen. We need to be understood. We need to be felt. So I personally am a big fan of one-on-ones. Whether they are stage 2 or stage 3 for you depends on your experience in business. And if you do not have a business that currently hits your income goals, my recommendation is always going to be bring in some one-on-one clients because the one-on-one clients is basically paid research and development. They're people who come to you and pour their hearts out to you. They tell you what their challenges are. They tell you what they're struggling with. If you take that data and figure out what's the common threads between your one-on-ones, now it becomes research for what you can offer in a more leveraged way, right? And that's why, like, I'll always be a big proponent of one-on-ones. I mean, I guess there are some business models where it's not necessary, but again, if you haven't hit your income goal yet, or you're not at a sustainable level, like where you're not feeling like, okay, I can at least, my head's above water here. Once your head's above water, fine, do away with the one-on-ones if you want. But if your head's not above water yet, I would invite you to have at least some one-on-ones, because it's gold for where you want to grow to. Any questions about that? Does everyone have their stage 2 product in mind of what that would be? For me, my stage 2 product is one-on-one readings. That's the thing. They're not that cheap, but I've been doing it for a long time now. So if I was new, I would charge a lot less, just because I would need to get my reputation and my name out there and everything. My one-on-ones, or sorry, my stage 2 is also low ticket events, like the numerology event last night. I've got another one coming up at the end of the month. Um, it would be, I do discovery calls that I don't charge for. So technically, I would consider that probably a stage 2, because I don't charge for them. But when someone is going to come on a Zoom call and spend a half an hour with me, that is an investment of their time and energy, right? So if you charge for your discovery calls, that's the stage 2. If you don't charge for them, it's probably still considered a stage 2. Everyone got a stage 2 in mind? Okay. Stage 3, we've already been teasing stage 3 a little bit here, but stage 3 is profitable. So there's some kind of leverage involved, whether it's like it's leveraging your time and energy because one sales conversation equals a 6-month or 1-year client, or it's leverage in terms of, you know, the time you put in, you're coaching in a group, right? Where it's like a group coaching program where it's like, okay, it's me, but there's like 5 other people or 10 other people. It could be a mastermind. It could be a hybrid. So my Abundant Business Mentorship program, my group business coaching program, is a hybrid, because I do a one-on-one session first, then we work together as a group. So it's a hybrid, right? But it's leveraged because you sell it once and then you're with the client for 6 months or however long, right? And that's where the leverage comes in. It gives you some sustainability and predictability of income. And it doesn't mean that you're constantly having to market for every hour of, like, quote unquote paid time, right? Like, as if I'm just selling one-on-ones and one-off sessions, every time I get a new client, I've had to do some level of marketing to get them. Whereas if I'm selling a package, a group program, some kind of longer term container, it's like the marketing, it might be a bit more marketing at the front end. But honestly, has anyone else noticed that it's just as much work to sell a lower priced offer than it is to sell a higher priced offer? Or is it just me? Like, it still requires the same level of connection, nurturing, lead building, email writing, follow ups, right? So, yes, you know, if it's really low cost, it's an easier yes in some ways, but marketing and selling needs to happen no matter what price point you're at. So let me try to get the marketing at the front end, and then a longer term commitment of like support and client and income. The other thing I love about stage 3 products and services is these are the ones that you will get the most fulfilled delivering, because these are the clients who are with you where you can see the growth and transformation over time, right? Whereas in a one-off session where someone comes in, receives a session and leaves, you have no idea. Did it help? Did they transform? Did they grow? Did they heal? I don't know. Unless they come back later and tell me something, I won't know. But if I'm working with a client for an ongoing basis, I can have check-in points. I can have accountability. I can have, you know, scorecarding, whatever it is that I want to look at to see where are they at, what's shifted, what's grown, what's made a difference, what's working, what's not working. I have time to be like, oh, my main strategy of XYZ maybe isn't perfect in this scenario. I'm going to add in another technique because I want this person to win, and I can do that in a longer term container. I have the time and the ability to do that, right? So, yeah. Does everyone have in mind what their stage 3 offer, their profitable offer might look like? If you had a membership where you had a very low churn rate, where someone joined the membership and you knew they would stay in for a long period of time, that could be a stage 3, right? Most memberships have a churn rate where somebody will join and they'll be in for 3 months, 6 months, who knows, and then they go out, right? They exit. But if you can create a membership where you have a very high retention rate, that could be your stage 3. To get to the very high retention rate, though, typically is going to require a bit of experimentation and finagling, and it's all one big experiment, so it all requires that. But those are the pieces where you kind of get to experiment and play, and it's like, okay, what's gonna be the thing that sticks? Do we all have a stage 1 or stage 3? I mean, the profitable one. Any questions about that so far? What's landing? What do you guys feel is the area that you're... Two questions. What area do you have dialed in? And what area is the biggest opportunity for you to grow between stage 1, stage 2, stage 3? And I'm going to say the overall messaging positioning that links them all together. Go for it, Vicky. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm loving this information. I can really see in trying to help people with psychology, I have my stage 1 pretty clear, and then I have my transformational package, but it's like trying to jump from 1 to 3. And I'm like, what do I do in between? I know how to transform them in a 10-week package. How do I find out which, that's what I'm struggling with. Like, as soon as you started mentioning the stage 2 stuff, I was just in scarcity mode. I'm like, I got nothing. I'm in the ditch here.
Yeah. This is really good because one of the most powerful ways to think about how do I prepare my client for the utmost success in stage 3? So when you understand problem and solution dynamic, there's always the solution I deliver in stage 3, there's always a preceding problem and a preceding problem and preceding problem. A lot of the times it's awareness, right? A lot of people might be like, oh, I'm stuck or I'm struggling or I'm this or I'm that. Here's a perfect example. Okay. I am perimenopausal 45-year-old mom of 3. I have this joke with my best friend, this running joke of I'm tired and I have brain fog today. Is it lack of sleep, lack of protein, hormones, overworking, and we joke, it's like the Russian roulette of what's the reason for the brain fog? So I know I have a problem, but I don't know why. And I don't know necessarily what to do about it. So if you can help your clients, educate them on here's the symptoms I'm experiencing. As the client with the lack of awareness, I might blame it on whatever. But if my stage 2 can actually give me the quote unquote diagnosis to get clarity on my problem, then my stage 3 can solve that problem, right? That's one way to look at it. Or the other way to look at it is using numerology as an example. My stage 3 is learn to do numerology. But my stage 2 could be you have an intuition. Numbers can be used to strengthen your intuition. Numbers contain energy. And it's they need to understand and know that before they'd be willing to study numerology. So kind of thinking about what's the thing that precedes the thing? And this is tricky. And it's not something people talk about, but when you understand this is where your messaging and positioning will get very strong. And when your messaging and positioning get strong, your conversions get strong. If you can diagnose people, I'm using air quotes because obviously this is not a medical diagnosis, but if you can tell people the problem and give them the trust that they're going to get the solution, they're going to buy the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
It does. And I don't want someone to start with a 10-week program. To me, I'm I want to really know that you have the self responsibility to follow that, and I don't know you yet. So it
Yes.
goes both ways, and I've been in this kind of tug of war because I'm like, I want to price
That's
it
a
so
great
it's an
question.
entry.
Well, like,
Yeah.
what are all the traits that I would have as your client that would make me successful in stage 3? And is there a way to create a mini product to help me get those traits dialed in? And someone's asking about, yeah, Louise, would retreats be stage 3? Retreats can absolutely be stage 3, but also they can feed into other stage 3s. So your retreat can be profitable, but your retreat can also position an ongoing mastermind, one-on-one coaching, ongoing support, check-in, community building. Like if I was running a retreat, I would want to do maybe like a membership of some sort or a monthly community of some sort for the retreat attendees to continue to implement and get support and stay connected after the retreat to support their ongoing transformation, right? So it can be high ticket, but it can also position more ongoing paid offers, right? So you really, here's the thing when you're building your business model, if I give you a solution and then I don't help you fully integrate it, implement whatever, it's kind of unfair, right? It's like, when you get super involved in a series on Netflix and then they end it and you're like, but wait, I wasn't ready for that yet. Like I need another season. Don't be the show that leaves people hanging. Give them the next season. Understand how your products work, and it can be circular. Doesn't have to be like some people talk about it being a staircase. Can if you want, but it can also be circular, right? So, and some of the most important ongoing support you can give is the integration, the accountability, the support when people have experienced doubts and insecurities, right? Yeah. And this is a thing that, people talk about in our industry when it comes to like, especially when it comes to like courses, that there's a low completion rate. And my belief system in the low completion rate is lack of accountability, lack of support, and lack of not setting you up for success at the beginning, right? Like if I knew what it would take for me to be successful before I said yes, that would make me more successful. And it's in our best interest if you're someone who's going to provide courses or anything like that. It's in our best interest to figure out like how do I get the highest completion, the highest success rates. Obviously, my clients will be happier, but then you also have repeat clients, referral clients, people taking it over and over again, right? All of that. So give them the next season, right? Give them the next season. Give the people what they want. Don't leave them hanging. Uh, okay. So I have a question for you. I want to ask you guys a couple of questions that's going to help you figure out kind of what your next steps are going to be, what you need to implement these pieces that you hopefully picked up some benefit from today. So the first question I'm going to ask you a few questions. I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. You don't have to tell me, this is for your own good, just to figure out where do you focus on next. Okay. So step number 1, question number 1, do you have a clear client journey moving from free, mid, profitable? Like the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Do you have that client journey in mind? Is that clear for you? Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, yep, got it dialed in, 1 being, I have no idea. Question 2 is consistently generating leads and attracting new clients. 1 being never, 10 being every day. Question 3, do you know what to do when you want to bring in a new client or new income? 1 being no clue, 10 being I know exactly what to do, and when I do it, it brings in the client/income. Question 4, how often do you get stuck in thinking about your next move versus taking the action? So 1 being I get stuck in thinking about it, 10 being I take action all the time. And then the last one, when you have opportunities to collaborate with people, do you know how to make it profitable? 1 being, I have no idea. 10 being, I can collaborate and always make money at it. Just to kind of give you a sense of where you're at. Taking a look at your kind of lower scored areas, this is going to be where you want to put some focus in to kind of go back to those original questions I asked you in the start of like, what do you want to be at income wise, or where do you want to be at in terms of like saving some time and energy? Those lower answered questions are your quote unquote low hanging fruit. Okay. Those are the action steps that will give you the biggest bang for your buck, the biggest oomph, the biggest value add. Those are the areas that you kind of want to be investing your time and attention into to generate the money, right? So like the opportunity cost of your time and energy. So from that, did you guys want me to share a little bit more about how I can support you in implementing this stuff, like some next step things?
Actually, Megan, could you repeat the second one of those questions that you just did?
Yeah, the second question was consistently generating new leads in your business. So 1 being no new leads, 10 being lots of new leads. Um, Sorry, my daughter's texting me. Uh, okay, so do you guys want to hear about how I can support you to kind of implement some of this stuff, give you support going forward? You guys want to hear that? Okay, so yeah, I'd love to support you to implement. So there's 2 options. Number 1, you can work with me one-on-one and we create like a fully customized plan for you. We create your business plan, we create your 3-stage model, we implement it together, you know, at every step in the road, I'm helping you. When I work with my clients one-on-one, I also do a lot of kind of like done with you stuff where I'll write some of your emails, I'll help you put your funnel together, I'll critique your landing page, things like that. If you want to do something like that, typically that's a 6-month time together. Depending on the person, we can hop in a discovery call to see. I'll estimate some people can do it in 3 months, but most people it's more like 6 months. And for private coaching, I charge $1,000 a month. And that includes, like I said, where I will take some of your stuff and work on it on my time as well. And then we have our coaching calls together. So it's not like I'm just sitting on the phone telling you what to do. I will take some of those pieces and take them off your plate, because after doing so many of these, it's actually pretty quick and easy for me to do them at this stage. So that's number 1. Number 2, I also have the Abundant Business Mentorship Program. And this is a small group coaching hybrid program where everybody who comes in at the start gets a one-on-one session with me where we map out your business plan. So I will do the numerology for you. I will look at your existing offers, your existing website, socials, all of that, and take that and help you create a plan of action. I'll help you get clear on your messaging and your positioning, how the products weave themselves together, like how you use stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 to position the rest, and yeah, how they all feed each other. Okay. My daughter keeps calling. I am so sorry. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to have to put you guys on hold to answer your questions. So I lost my train of thought. Yes. So we start with the one-on-one and then we spend the next 6 months working together. We work through a very kind of structured plan. I'm going to show you what that looks like because I have it kind of mapped out on the page. Here we go. Okay. So if you look here, so stage 1 is step 1 is step 1 is your customized business plan. Step 2 is creating that big picture vision and figuring out like what are the pieces in your stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. The next month, we really figure out how do they link together with your messaging. right? So this is a lot about messaging and understanding how to position. Okay. Figuring out your soulmate clients and your client pathway. This one will be doing a quiz funnel together. So some people like to do their quizzes open facing where you can use them to position, to sell, to market. And then the sixth one, it's like whether you want to do a speaking series or a live training series, kind of like what I'm doing right now. It's like how you share your work to attract community and also position and sell. And then the last step is the content marketing plan so that you can kind of plug these pieces in and then generate the client flow that you're looking for. So how that works is we meet together every month for, it works out to be about 7 months because of the time that I take to do your one-on-one calls. And then we have 3 calls a month where we have a teaching call, a Q&A call, and a co-working call. You can still send me your website or emails for feedback. And I really encourage the community engagement. So if you're working on a freebie and opt-in, I'll kind of get you guys to kind of help each other out in that department where it's like, oh, I'm working on this one, do a little trade and review each other. So you get more than one opinion on it. And yeah, that's about that. I've coached hundreds of people on their businesses now. So if you look on that webpage, there's lots of testimonials and client examples of different people who've been able to implement that, bring in new clients, or go from kind of like murky and confused to full successful business model, which is always just so, to me, that's the goal. I want you to be able to do the work you're doing on your own, right? Fully supported, fully financially sovereign. So the group program is $2,000 for the 6 months, or you can also break that into 6-month payments, which I can't remember. I think it works out to be like $350 a month or something like that. If you want to do the payment plan. And either way, whether you do it group with me or one-on-one with me, you do get the business plan to kind of get you started. Like I said, it's a relatively small group. I think my current group has 7 people in it. So everybody gets lots of time for their questions and their focuses. We also tend to form quite a cohesive group. So people are supporting each other with their social comments and things like that, and at their events and things, which is so fun. So yeah, that we're starting. The next group is starting in the next week or two, where I'll be doing your one-on-one between now and April 15th. And the first group call will be starting April 15th. If you are Canadian, I do have Canadian pricing for you as well. And yeah, does anybody have any questions about that or comments or curious about how that will unfold? I do have a couple of little graphics. I'll email them to you actually, because I can't really share them because I made them as JPEGs, but it will show you kind of the flow that we'll work through together over those 6 months, or one-on-one if we do it that way.
And this would be a new group starting versus joining the other group. Is that correct?
New group starting. Yeah.
Time.
Yeah. So new group starting. Basically over the next 4 weeks, I'll be giving everyone their one-on-one session where they'll get their business plan. And then starting on April 15th, we'll start meeting together as a group to be implementing the business plan. So accountability, support, mindset, but also practical questions of like, what should I price this at? Or what is the next email I should write in my email sequence? Or how do I do an opt-in? The other day we sat down as a group and I literally went through how to do an email funnel from opt-in, grab their email, tag them, the order they go through in the emails. Because that was something they all wanted to know, right? We also did the other day, how to make memes on Instagram if you're, and that wasn't something I had like planned content for, but they were all like, how are you doing these memes? I'm like, I'll teach you. So fun. Hmm. Okay, so what I want to say, the group meetings on the calendar weekly. Yeah, so we meet the first 3 Tuesdays of every month. And then the last Tuesday is a flex day. So sometimes we don't meet and people are just working. And sometimes when people are asking for bonus trainings in the group, I'll do a bonus training on the last Tuesday of the month, right? It really just depends. But yeah, we meet Tuesdays. I can't remember what time. I want to say we're gonna do it. We're probably gonna do 11, which is the same time as this call. But yeah, so if you're wondering, like Louise is asking, what's the best option if you're starting up? Book a one-on-one with me and let me take a peek at where you're at. So if anyone's like, do I need one-on-one? Do I need group? Is this even the right fit for me? Just book a call with me or send me a DM so I can take a peek at what your offers and products and services are, and then I'll know where you're at. That will be the best way to kind of give me a sense of what to do, how to support you, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm going to send an email out following this call. Book a one-on-one with me. No obligation, of course, but it'll just give me a sense to know where your gaps are, where your opportunities are, where I feel like this group may or may not help you, depending on what your goals are. And I'll be direct with it because my goal is that everyone gets what they need out of it and stays engaged in the process, because for me, that's the funnest when I have a room full of people that I get to support and they're making progress towards their goals. So I'm going to do everything I can to make that possible for you, and including letting you know if it wouldn't be the right fit for you, right? So let's chat, send me a DM. I'll follow up with an email where you can book a one-on-one. But tomorrow we are going to be meeting again at 11, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about how you can use AI to leverage your time and energy a little bit to save you time, to save you energy, what it's good for, what it's not good for, and just a few little pieces that can really kind of give you that superpower support in your business. Because I know as a solo entrepreneur, it feels like there's a lot of energy going out, and any way that we can call in support as we're building, 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, I know we ran late. Thank you for staying with me. Tomorrow's call will have lots of space for Q&A and discussion, so come back with your questions. Book in a one-on-one with me. Reply to my email if you have any questions, and I just really look forward to getting this moving even more. Mwah. Thank you so much, everyone. I so appreciate you being here, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.